Hey everybody, Megan here. This is my dad.
Hi, how are you doing?
Nobody's looking yet.
Nobody's looking.
No, it'll say a number at the top.
Oh,
But you can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
they can hear me?
Yeah, people will be able to hear. See, we have one person viewing now.
They can read.
Oh, but you can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Start now?
Yeah.
Oh. Hi, whoever's out there. This is Megan's dad. I'm down visiting her in Orlando, Florida. Come down for the holiday Labor Day weekend. And just wanted to chat with you folks about what it was like parenting Megan when she was younger and going through the surgeries and seeing if you had any questions that you wanted to ask at all.
Okay.
Keep going.
So what was it like when you first found out? Do you even remember?
Well, when we first found out, obviously, you were just born. We were very excited. Everything was fine. And literally, we were only a couple hours from leaving the hospital. And they were retesting you and everything. And they determined that there were some issues. And they needed to retest. And then without telling us much, they told us they were going to a specialty unit or taking you by ambulance over to University of Michigan. To see the specialist there. So that was quite concerning, to say the least.
So did it feel weird?
Oh, it was very weird. We were only hours from taking our firstborn home, and suddenly our lives were turned upside down, and we were going to the neonatal care unit at University of Michigan.
See, you have someone who commented and said, wow. Okay. And then the first
then
surgery.
Obviously when we got there, they weren't telling us much at all. And then we were sitting in a waiting room, and we knew it was a tough situation because a priest came in, a number of doctors came in, nurses came in, a counselor came in, and literally laid it out for us very clinically, but indicated that what the situation was, and that there was some heart defects, and they were still ascertaining the issues and would keep us informed.
So then the first surgery comes around.
Right. So then they came back in and indicated, trying to explain to us all this information we had never been aware of, and also.
And there's no internet.
There's no internet. Again, this is in 1990.
Yeah.
There's no internet. There's nothing like that. They tell us the options of what we have. And
what were the options they gave you?
Well, the options really were two issues. One, either you have to have the surgery and we have to perform it in the next day or so, or you may only have your daughter for a few days.
So transplant wasn't an option.
Right. Transplant was not an option.
Because that's an option now.
Right. Right. So obviously we had to very quickly take in that information and obviously decide to go with the surgery. Mm-hmm. We were comforted by the fact that we were very lucky living right in Ann Arbor, Michigan, having at the time in 1990 one of the preeminent doctors that had performed these surgeries successfully with a number of patients. Mm-hmm. And going back to 1990, only a couple of years previous to that, these surgeries weren't available, and people literally is either a transplant we'd have to wait for, or they would have to say goodbye to their newborns.
Yeah. So we have 7 people watching now. If you have any questions, you can ask anything you want. So getting into sports, because I know that's a big issue with everybody.
Okay.
Because they're scared to let them play.
Yep, we're jumping ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No problem. We can just go back to that. But, with sports, we really wanted to, obviously, as you can see from Megan here, all 3 surgeries were very successful. We made it through those years, and as time came along, she wanted to be involved in as many activities as possible. And obviously, we wanted it to be as normal as possible for her to try anything she wanted to try. And we would just see how things worked out, and if she was able to handle them, to continue with that, and if it was too strenuous for her, to go in a different direction.
Like basketball.
Yeah, right.
Did you wear a heart guard shirt or protector during physical ed in high school?
No.
Nope.
Didn't wear any of that.
Not even during softball?
Did not during softball. We were always very concerned. We made, and would you play mostly third base?
Third base, yeah.
Which was concerning, but we didn't play at the travel level. You played high school ball and local ball, but didn't wear a guard. We had to do it over with. We'd probably go down that path.
Really?
Well, I think it's better to be prudent.
True.
Right.
True.
Right.
But no, we didn't.
Right.
I don't think they had them out.
I don't know.
Because now if you go to like Dick's Sporting Goods, they have shirts that have it on there. Mm-hmm. So, interesting. Right. Let's see.
Same thing with anything. Megan played violin in school. And again, she kind of we let her gravitate to what she wanted to play. If she wanted to try a wind instrument or drums or whatever, we just let her gravitate. And obviously playing the violin wasn't strenuous on her breathing or anything like that. So it was the perfect instrument for her to play in grade school and middle school, right?
Middle school and high school, yeah.
Right, exactly.
There was a question about their kid joining band, and he chose the saxophone. And how do you think that'll go?
Well, I think, just like we kind of talked a bit about, I think, for example, if someone wants to try a wind instrument, they should let them try it out. Talk to their doctor first, talk to their cardiologist, get an opinion there. And especially every individual is going to be different, just seeing what their breathing is like and have them try it. You know, you can always rent instruments or try them out and see how that works. And if it works fine, you move forward with it and encourage them. If it presents an issue, then obviously move to an instrument, for example, violin or drums or any of these ones that don't involve having to blow a lot to produce the sounds from the instrument.
True. Let's see. Is there any other questions? Because they'll pop up over here. Trying to think. So a lot of parents want to know, like, going to cardiology appointments. Were you like that too?
You want to know about that?
Well, no, like heart moms have been, when did your parents stop going? Kind of thing.
Oh, I don't think. I think we went with,
a lot.
A lot, yes.
Till I moved.
Right, till she moved. Obviously, she lives in Florida now. I live in Michigan, and what's nice is being able to keep that relationship going with the doctors there. And even though she has a cardiologist now in Florida, I still have a good, solid personal relationship with the doctors from 27 years ago to be able to call them up on a personal basis and ask, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this test? Those type of things. So it's crucial to make sure you get a good personal relationship with all the doctors on the team, because there's cardiologists and there's fellows and there's people that follow them, and there's a variety of different healthcare professionals that you want to keep involved with.
So someone asked, how did you go about talking to teachers about the heart issues?
Is that for you or for me?
For you.
Oh.
Did you and Mom tell the teachers? Do we have a teacher plan?
I don't. I'm trying to recall.
I think we had a 504 thing. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, but I think that was
for more learning.
That was more for learning, and if I recall, if it came up back then, if they needed that to establish the 504 training, we provided the information. But if not, obviously we wanted to keep everything as standard and normal as possible, and it didn't really come up in a lot of teachers. I remember a lot of times people would never know that, anything about it. They would sometimes maybe wonder about your raspy voice, which was just an issue from one of the surgeries. But it never really came up in discussion in parent-teacher situations.
But did you tell them to like look for certain things, or like, because a lot of people say, oh, if she starts to turn blue, or call me, or send her the nurse, or.
I think we didn't talk to each teacher at the start of every year and explain things. But if there was ever an issue that came from the teachers regarding Megan seems fatigued or Megan is not up to par or seems off, then we would have that discussion and talk about things they needed to look for potentially down the road.
Gotcha. Okay, let's see. Anything else pertaining to school?
No, I think regarding school, especially as you got older, you on your own determined how much you wanted to let your friends know or people know or teachers know once you developed a better relationship with the teachers.
There's also, I've seen people comment about how far away the lockers are from classes and getting to classes on time. I never went to my locker.
Oh, I was going to say, was that?
I kept all my books in my backpack.
Right.
So I guess that's another idea. Don't keep anything in your locker.
Right.
So you get there on time.
Right.
But yeah, pretty much. Because my locker was always on the other side of my classes. So I went in the beginning of the day.
Right.
And the end.
And remember, you were at a large school.
Yeah.
Which had a lot of walking between different floors and different sections of the school, so there was a lot more walking. And would you have like 6 minutes?
Yeah, like 6 minutes, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
High school was different, that's for sure. Let's see. Is there any other questions? Or do you have something you want to bring up?
It's been, hate to say it's been, good news is it's been so long since those days. It's hard to remember back 20, 25 years. Obviously, being young, we were very protective, and as she grew, we were still protective, but less protective because she grew and started doing different things and did it just like all the other kids.
But you didn't keep me in a bubble.
Right. There was obviously no bubble. Running for softball or running for soccer, you went with your own pace, and it brings up a good point. We would discuss with your soccer coach or your softball coach potential limitations you might have, especially in soccer, about the running and those kind of things. And you may not go as long as another player, and then just to sub you out, and then when you're ready, you'd go back in. Just like really any kids, where if they're not fully conditioned or whatever, you just had a different situation regarding that.
True.
Right?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of other things that people have said. Or if you have any questions. Let's see the questions.
Any questions there?
We answered those questions. It was about the teachers, heart protector thing.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. Any other questions? If not,
again, okay. Obviously, like we talked about, it's amazing when you think about it now. There was no internet. There was nothing back in those days. So to be able to get information was literally getting it from the doctors you were working with or going to the library. That's how far back we're going, 1990, to gather information.
Was there anything in a dictionary or anything?
Very little. I mean, you find very little. But now the key is, obviously, as everyone knows, you can get tons of information. There's online support groups. There's all these different types of groups in different states and countries to share information. And it's key, if you're involved in this type of situation, to get yourself involved with these groups, to go on the internet, to share information.
Don't go on the internet.
Don't go on the internet.
Don't go on Google.
Don't go on Google.
No, it's still all bad.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Was HLHS the only diagnosis? No. I have ASD, VSD, TGA, and HLHS. Right. And then, I love to hear this. Thank you for your voice. Oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, there's not a lot of kids with just HLHS.
Right.
there's a bunch of
Usually
forms.
it's more than one thing involved.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think I've met one person who just has HLHS. It's usually combined with something else.
Right. Right.
Which is weird. I don't know. It's just weird to me. Let's see. Oh, John joined. Hi, John. Is there any other questions for me or my dad or any topics you'd like us to cover? My daughter is only HLHS. Huh. Interesting. Hey, honey.
Hello.
And obviously the key thing is to get as much information as you can. Search out for other people like Megan and that for online videos or discussions. Don't hesitate to reach out with questions, however strange they may be. There's always somebody that might have similar situations or can get you answers on that.
Someone said, what is one piece of advice you would give to new parents starting this journey?
Well, I say that one piece of advice or multiple pieces of advice, it would be keep your mind open for information, search out information, always keep looking for the newest situations or success stories.
Don't be negative.
Yeah, try to keep your chin up. Obviously, we went through this way back, starting 27 years ago, when things were not of the digital age, not of the internet age, and didn't have information, and just put our faith in the doctors and the staff back then. And we were very fortunate to have an excellent staff. You're going to have your ups and downs, but you're going to have more ups and downs. And obviously, the techniques and the surgeries and all those other things have greatly improved over the years. So there's I don't know if they still do 3 surgeries or they do 2.
Well, it depends on the person.
Right.
Sometimes they don't do the Fontan or the Glenn.
Right.
So someone said, what's one piece of advice to someone with a child transitioning to adult care? It's hard. It's hard.
What do you mean by adult
Going
care?
from like Dr. Crowley to Dr. Stapleton is adult.
Right.
It's just, it's different.
Well, and until Megan moved out of state, the doctors we had at the University of Michigan continued to follow her into her teens and into her 20s. So it was very advantageous that even though they were pediatric cardiology, they stayed with her all the way through into adulthood.
Would they have kicked me out at a certain age?
I don't think so. I think they may have transitioned you, but still
saw
you and still been in conversation with.
How do you handle living so far away from your heart baby, even though she's an adult?
Well, that's a good question. I was just going to go into that. And Megan has lived in the past 4 or 5 years. She's lived in California. She's lived in Las Vegas, and now she's settled finally into Florida. So the concern always has been on those moves. All right, how do we find the right cardiologist? Again, that's all with research. And obviously, what was good too, since the people we had at the University of Michigan knew a lot of cardiologists that handled these type of issues across the country, they were able to make recommendations. But then obviously, one of the other key things were too is that's a lot of information that has to be passed along and forwarded so that they understand the nature of her operations. So she had huge files that had to follow her, and we had to make sure that we knew we had competent surgeons and cardiologists at these places.
How do you handle it?
How do I handle it?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'd say I handle it from 27 years of experience, and it's a lot easier now than what it was going through those first 3 years. So if you get through all the operations, the intensity is obviously, in our case, not as intense many years down the road. Do
you ever have sleeping issues? Sometimes. but I still sleep. I don't know. I wake up a lot, but that's pretty much it. Average saturation, my oxygen's usually 93 to 95. Hi, my HLHS is super headstrong. How was she growing up? How was I growing up?
Aren't all girls super headstrong? I think I remember her being headstrong. But I think obviously over time she grows out of that. And how old is this person?
I'm not sure.
Right. It changes with time. It gets more even keel with time. Obviously the key is being patient, being understanding, rolling with the punches as best you can, and knowing you're in it for the long haul.
He's 14.
14, okay.
Mm-hmm.
He or she?
He.
Oh, okay.
Someone else said, yeah, mine is very headstrong too.
Well, and again, you want to look at that as a positive rather than negative. Hopefully being headstrong, that means they can be strong in their beliefs, strong in moving forward, and hopefully being that headstrong helps them grow through this whole thing. I think there's a lot of growth with children like this that internally may realize they've had these situations, and makes them even stronger.
Did you have any learning or reading issues when you were little? Our little boy has speech delays, but honestly he seems healthy and happy. We just can't understand a word he says.
Again, I'm not in the medical field, but you want to make sure it may have nothing to do with the heart issues, and it may have to do with something totally else with development of those type of things.
It's also when you're under the oxygen as a kid.
That's true. That's true.
Sometimes.
That's true. I think the key is getting with the medical professionals, having them tested, having them observed, and taking into consideration what they have to say.
In school, I did get extra time on tests and stuff like that, but that was pretty much it.
Right. And back to that thing, too, if you're concerned about your student or your child at school, there's all kinds of programs that you just go and talk to the teachers, and they have specialists there that you can set yourself up with. Like Megan indicated, she did get additional time for tests. You took them, some tests by
in
yourself,
a different room,
in a different room without all the
distractions,
so to speak.
Did Megan ever get angry about her heart when she was a child or teen? Was I ever mad about it?
I don't recall. Or did you keep that more to yourself?
Yeah, I was more of, I thought I was by myself.
Yeah.
I just thought I was alone. Because we didn't go to any heart camps, or we didn't know anybody else.
Back then.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I didn't meet my first HLHS person until I was 23.
Right.
So, how did you talk to her about it? Did you guys ever talk to her? Oh, this was a big question. How did you explain it to me as a kid?
Well,
Mom says I've always known.
Right.
But, did you guys ever explain it to me?
I think we explained it when you were real young in the sense of an analogy of, someone might have broken their arm or broken their leg. You had some issues when you were born that needed to be fixed, and the doctors went in and fixed those things.
But it's not fixed.
Not fixed. Mended. And again, Megan her last surgery was at 3 years old, so there was no explaining anything till years after that, so that she could comprehend it.
True. Not fixed.
Not fixed.
No. Let's see. Are there any other questions? There's a lot in that one. Or anything else you need to say?
Again, it's just from all the experience. Another question?
Yeah.
Okay.
My guy is only 20 months old and very observant of his scar and points it out all the time. Were you ever embarrassed by it? Or as a parent feel super defensive for her?
I think Megan got, obviously, as she got older, middle school, high school, You were much more aware of it.
Yeah, but I didn't show anybody.
She didn't show anybody, and obviously she didn't. It was her dresses or blouses were
all
always
up to here.
buttoned, so no one really knew.
No.
I think they knew because of the scarring of the throat muscles.
The vocal paralysis.
Vocal paralysis. Her voice was a little scratchy.
Yeah, or I'm sick.
Yeah,
I sound like I'm sick.
So people were always asking, are you sick or what's wrong with your voice? What was the original question?
Were I ever embarrassed by it? I just never showed it.
Yeah, you never showed it.
Till after high school.
Right. Try to keep it. I don't think you ever really picked at it or looked at it or were concerned about it.
No.
And I don't think we even ever explained it.
No.
Right.
And I remember I had to do that 8th grade project, and I did it on that, and it freaked me out.
You did it on the scar?
No, I did it on the HLHS.
Oh, okay.
And then Mom had to explain it to me.
Okay.
And then, how's your blood pressure? Well, I'm on a blood pressure medicine now, so.
What is it? What's your average?
Before the blood pressure medicine, honey, what was it? Billy?
140s?
Yeah, hypertension stage 1.
Yeah, it was hypertension stage 1.
Right.
So now I'm on a blood pressure medicine. My son has liver and kidneys checked. Do you ever have issues with either? I just had them checked.
A month or two ago?
Yeah, and they're fine.
Right.
How is the transition from taking care of all medical needs to Megan taking care of her own medical needs, medications and appointments? You have to remind me sometimes. General doctors.
Oh, general doctors?
You have to remind me to make appointments with general doctors.
Yeah, I think, again, since we're talking with someone whose first surgery was 27 years ago, for the longest time when she was living in Michigan, the cardiologist was just once a year checkup.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, that was all it was. Then, obviously, once she moved away, we had to reestablish with new cardiologists. They had to get up to speed on what occurred many, many years ago, and they wanted to come in and
try two things,
run tests, all these kind of things. So, but every time she moved, you want to make sure that she established herself with a new cardiologist, got the referral to get one, and obviously had established with one.
Well, and also, I just like to talk to my cardiologist than a general doctor.
Right.
Because I feel like he knows me more than a general doctor does.
Right. And the key thing I would think was, too, is, as Megan just said, she wanted to have someone she could talk to, knew the situation, and knew what the operations were, and could talk to her on a level that only certain doctors can.
Yeah. How's your swelling? It's still there.
How's your what?
Swelling.
Oh, on your legs?
Legs, yeah.
Right.
Our son has terrible feeding issues. We had a G-tube for over a year. Did she have issues as a baby or a young child?
Mom? News through the nose. That one?
No. Did I have that one?
Yeah.
For a little bit?
Right. Yeah, that
the
was
one through the nose.
Obviously, that was a tough one early on. She had, I forget how long it was for, but had nose feeding tubes, and sometimes in the middle of the night they would come out, or she'd cough them out, and we'd have to go in and put them back in ourselves. So that was a very trying situation, because obviously Megan would be crying. Sometimes it'd be very tough to do, to get them in the right way or get that angle in, but you can't get frustrated, or you got to hand it off to your husband or wife to try it. And eventually it gets smoother over time.
Mom said that she had to give me rice cereal at one point to gain weight for the Fontan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I know that's an issue with a lot of them.
Right.
To gain weight for it because they're too small.
Right.
Okay. Are there any other questions? If not, that's okay. I don't think so. Well, do you want to say why?
Did something just pop up or no?
Bless your heart. It was so hard. My heart goes out to any parent who deals with feeding issues.
Yeah, that thinking back on it, that obviously it was one of the toughest ones. the feeding issues. You never know when the tube would come out. You never know how difficult or how smooth it would be getting it back in. So that was a tough one, but thank goodness it's a long, long time ago.
We love you. You are a hero.
You must be talking to me.
I'm sure. Well, do you have anything closing to say?
In closing, it's kind of like where we started. Keep the faith, reach out for information, continue to reach out for information, join groups within your state, within your city, go to conferences, learn as much as you can, get a support mechanism for when they're young, for when they get into grade school, work with the teachers, work with any organizations that can help you.
Did you have any complications during your Fontan? Yes.
Which one was that?
The last one. Mom said Dr. Beauvais was out of town, and the nurses took out the tubes, and I got fluid in my lungs.
Fluid in the tubes?
Fluid in the tubes or something.
Yeah, it wasn't a complication from the surgery itself. It was just a complication where the main doctor was out of town, and there was some
communication error
with the nurses, or a nurse that didn't change the tube correctly, but it was minor in the sense of it wasn't surgery affected whatsoever.
Yes. She said both of you are her heroes.
Appreciate that.
All right. If you have any more questions, you can post them below. Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.